Welcome to Revenza Tales, where unadulterated stories of heartbreak and justice hold you to the core. Smash subscribe, ring the bell, and spread to friends who want a comeback story. Imagine losing your anchor, then to encounter a family that chooses their limelight over your sorrow. What do you do when their greed compels you to fight back? Hold tight for a loss and stand story that'll hit you hard. My name is Anastasia, and for the last 3 years, I've lived in a nightmare that I never anticipated. My husband Luke was the type of guy who radiated energy in any room in Portland, Oregon. He was tall, with a chuckle that could take away your worst day, and a software engineer on his way up at a tech startup. Our 11-year-old son, Liam, took after Luke's inquisitive eyes and love of making model rockets. Our family was invincible, our existence intertwined with visions of beach trips, Liam's soccer games, and peaceful evenings on our porch observing Portland's rain. Then Luke returned from a doctor's appointment, his complexion pale, his voice not much more than a whisper. Anastasia, it's pancreatic cancer. Those words destroyed our world like shattered glass. Luke was 42, the man who jogged 5 miles for exercise, always in perfect health, always so full of life. We assumed we had decades to spare, not months. We were suddenly seeking experts, making pilgrimages to Seattle and San Francisco for a second opinion. We spent every available dollar on the finest care, experimental treatments, first-rate oncologists. Luke's work was lucrative, thank God, funding treatments that burned through our savings. But the physician's words were an incessant drumbeat. We're stalling time, not a cure. Throughout, Luke's parents, Grace and Tom, were our lifeline. They lived in a cozy Portland suburb, their home always smelling of Grace's homemade blackberry pie. When Luke had chemo, Grace arrived with casseroles and a warm smile. Anastasia, don't worry about dinner. Liam's with me. Tom, quieter but just as kind, picked Liam up from school or fixed our leaky faucet without a word. They treated me like their own daughter, filling a void I'd carried since childhood. Growing up in Portland, I was never more than an afterthought to my family. My mom, Diane, and dad, Robert, had eyes for only my little sister, Camila. When I was 8 years old, I spent weeks on a mural for the art show at my school, so proud I could burst. But when showtime came around, they didn't show. Camila had a beauty pageant and that took precedence. I struggled in high school to get into the honor society, but at my induction ceremony, they skipped out early for Camila's cheerleading number. She was only a backup cheerleader, not even the lead, but it didn't matter. I grew accustomed to not expecting their attention, creating my own world. When I met Luke in college, his love was my home, his family a salve for ancient wounds. But when Luke's sickness had gotten worse, those wounds were reopened. I called my mom on one rainy afternoon, with Luke too frail to leave his bed. Can you take care of Liam for a few hours? I have to see the doctors. Her tone was sharp, like I was interrupting something. Anastasia, we're assisting Camila with her new marketing presentation. She's really on edge. That was always the excuse. Camila's stress, Camila's ambitions, Camila's everything. I hung up, swallowing the pain, and called Grace instead. She arrived at my door within 20 minutes, arms open to Liam. The night Luke died, the rain of Portland drummed against the hospital windows. I grasped his hand, his fingers thin, hardly real any longer. Liam was with Grace and Tom, thank God, sparring him from that moment. Luke's breathing slowed, each pause growing longer, until he whispered, Anastasia, you're stronger than you know. Take care of Liam. Those were his last words. I sat there for hours, his hand cold in mine, unable to let go. The man who'd been my anchor for 15 years was gone. Grace and Tom arrived soon after my call, their faces crumpled with grief but steady for me. We're here, sweetheart, Grace said, pulling me into a hug that smelled of lavender and comfort. We wept together, the 3 of us, as the nurses glided softly past us. I messaged my mom. Luke died tonight. A response, an hour later. That's terrible. 2 words, no phone call, no offer to assist, no reference to Liam. I stood frozen, unable to feel the bite, with a funeral to arrange and a son to keep together. The days after Luke's death were a fog, everything heavy and wrong. I'd wake hoping it was a nightmare, but the empty side of the bed told the truth. Liam was quieter, his questions about Luke breaking my heart. Mom, is Dad really not coming back? He'd ask, clutching a model rocket Luke helped him build. I'd pull him close, stroking his hair. He's always with us, buddy, in here, touching his chest. But beneath, I was drowning, mourning pulling me under. It seemed impossible to arrange the funeral. Calls to make, a coffin to select, family members requesting chapel directions. I lived on coffee and Grace's homemade soup, hardly sleeping at all. Grace and Tom were blessings. Tom fielded calls from Luke's colleagues, Grace staying with Liam, coloring pictures for the memorial with him. Even with them behind me, I was stretched thin, needing my parents to rally, just once. One afternoon, I took Liam to my parents' house in a residential Portland neighborhood, practicing my appeal. I knocked, and my mom answered the door, already halfway into her coat. "Anastasia, this is not a good time," she said, not stepping aside. "We're going out." My gut knotted up, but I persisted. "Mom, please, I need you to take care of Liam for a few hours. The funeral home requires decisions, and I'm hanging on by a thread." My father arrived, keys in hand. "We have a plan with Camila, she is recording for her influencer account, and we offered to assist." I stood, Liam's tiny hand in mine, feeling that 8-year-old at the art fair once more. "It's Luke's funeral," I said, my voice breaking. "Can Camila wait?" My mother's face set. "Camila's under a lot of pressure, Anastasia. You'll manage." They came out, shut the door, and sped away without looking at Liam. He gazed up at me, bewildered, and I managed a smile. "Let's go, buddy." I phoned my friend Daisy, who didn't bat an eyelid. "Drop him off, Anastasia. I've got him." I drove home, passed by my parents' house out of some sadistic streak. Their car was home, Camila's sporty convertible in the driveway, lights shining inside. They hadn't been out, they'd simply picked Camila once more. The betrayal was deep, but I was too tired to cry. I messaged our family group chat. "Luke's funeral is this Saturday at Riverside Chapel, reception afterwards." It was marked red by my mom, dad, and Camila. No one responded. The evening before the funeral, I couldn't sleep, my head a storm of rage and sadness. I rang my mom, hoping for a crumb of support. "You received my message regarding the funeral, correct?" A silence, followed by her voice, cool and distant. "Oh, Anastasia, we can't attend. Camila has a big lunch to mark her new marketing role. It's at noon, and we're all attending." My heart halted. "Mom, this is Luke's funeral. The man who paid off your car loan when you were down on your luck, the grandfather of your grandson." Her voice became icy. "That was years ago, Anastasia. Camila's worked incredibly hard for this. We're so proud of her." She hung up before I could protest. Desperate, I phoned Camila. "Hey," she growled, irritated, like I was commandeering her spotlight. "Camila, your lunch is during the same time as Luke's funeral. Can you reschedule so Mom and Dad can attend?" She laughed, icy and brutal. "No way, Anastasia. The restaurant's reserved, everyone's coming. It's not as if I can rearrange a funeral." My voice trembled. "A funeral? Camila? Luke's dead. He paid for your marketing course, your laptop, everything." She sighed. Impatient. "That was forever ago. This promotion's a big deal. People die, Anastasia. I'm concentrating on my future." She hung up, standing me in my kitchen, phone shuddering in my hand, amazed at her cruelty. A week after the funeral, I received a call from Daniel, Luke's estate attorney. "Anastasia, it's time to examine Luke's will," he said, his voice gentle but professional. He was careful with his arrangements. "Can I see you tomorrow afternoon?" I had said yes, inviting Grace and Tom as Luke had included them. I thought I knew what to come. Luke and I had spoken about his plans. But I wasn't ready for what happened next. The following day, Daniel came to our house, his leather briefcase under his arm. Grace and Tom were with me in the living room, Liam playing in the background with his model rockets. Daniel smiled at him. "Your dad was so proud of you, Liam. Told you one day you'd be an astronaut." Liam's blushing grin was the first I'd noticed in days. We sat down, anticipating a simple reading. Then the doorbell rang. "I'm not expecting anyone," I said, perplexed, as I made my way to the door. My heart fell when I looked at them. My mom, dad, and Camila, waiting on the porch in tears. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, my tone biting. My mom's face was a study in sympathy. "We heard you were reading the will, Anastasia. Luke was one of us, we should be here." I laughed, sour and incredulous. One of us? You dodged his funeral for Camila's lunch, but you're here for his money. My dad choked. Now, Anastasia, let's not make a scene. We're here for you. My mother thrust past me into the house, my father and Camila following. We're family, my mother said, as if that nullified their absence. Grace and Tom's faces hardened, but they remained silent for the sake of Liam. I was trembling with rage, but I managed to keep it under wraps. Fine, I said between clenched teeth. Let's get this over with. Daniel, unperturbed, opened his briefcase. Luke Michael Walsh, being sound in mind, make this my last will and testament, he started. Luke bequeathed $350,000 to Grace and Tom to retire, an act that moved them to tears. The air was charged with expectation, my family's presence a storm cloud hovering to burst. Daniel's voice was firm as he read Luke's will in our Portland living room, the gravity of his words weighing over us. Luke left Grace and Tom $350,000 to spend their retirement, a gesture of gratitude for their steadfast support. Grace's eyes filled with tears, and Tom clasped her hand, his weighty face relaxed in gratitude. To Anastasia and Liam, he left our craftsman-style house in Hawthorne, 2 rental properties in Portland's Pearl District, and $600,000 in savings. These properties generate steady income, Daniel explained, adjusting his glasses. Luke bought them as investments years ago, always planning ahead. I sat stunned, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. Luke never mentioned the apartments, always saying, Anastasia, don't worry about the details, I've got us covered. He'd built a future for us, even knowing he wouldn't be in it. My mom's face shifted as Daniel spoke, her fake sympathy twisting into greed. Camila sat up straighter, her eyes gleaming like she'd hit a jackpot. My dad leaned forward, his fingers tapping his knee, barely hiding his anticipation. When Daniel finished, my mom clapped her hands, her voice bright and jarring. Well, Anastasia, this is fantastic. You're set for life. The room fell silent, the air thick with shock. Grace and Tom gazed, appalled, their generosity at odds with my family's brazenness. My mom plowed ahead, blissfully unaware of the tension. Camila's been having trouble paying her rent, haven't you, dear? Those apartments would really benefit her. Camila nodded vigorously, her nails carefully manicured to catch the light. Yeah, Portland's just so darned expensive. You don't need 2 pieces of property, Anastasia. I rose, my fists balled, my voice shaking with fury. Are you kidding? Luke's hardly been gone, and you're here without an invitation, demanding his possessions? You missed his funeral to attend Camila's birthday party. My dad held a hand up, his voice patronizing, as if I were some spoiled child having a fit. Anastasia, take a breath. You're on your own now with all this money. It's only right to share with family. I lashed out, my tone ringing across the room. Alone? I have Liam. Everything Luke had is for his future, his education, his aspirations. The things Luke can't give him anymore because he's gone. My mom's face twisted, her voice sharp. Don't be selfish, Anastasia. Camila needs help now, not some kid years from college. Tom's voice sliced through, low and sharp. That kid is your grandson, Diane. He just lost his father. My mom flushed, snapping back. Don't lecture me about my family, Tom. I'd had enough, my heart pounding with years of pent-up hurt. Liam, take Mr. Daniel upstairs to show him your rocket collection. My tone was steady but firm. Daniel, noticing the tension, took Liam's hand with a smile. Let's see those rockets, champ. As they were out of earshot, I spoke to my family, my voice cold and unyielding. How dare you? You stood us up when Luke was dying. Didn't even want to babysit Liam for an hour. And now you think you merit his money? Luke paid for your car, funded Camila's marketing course, and you didn't even get to say goodbye at his funeral. My dad began. That's not fair. I interrupted him, my voice rising. No, what isn't fair is you making me invisible my entire life. I'm finished, out. My mom gasped. You ungrateful. I gestured toward the door, my hand firm through the storm raging within. Out now. They went, my mom complaining of my selfishness, Camila flipping her hair in defiance. I sank down onto the couch, exhausted, my chest aching with sorrow and anger. Grace put a hand on my shoulder, speaking softly. You made the right decision, Anastasia. I regarded her, my voice tiny. Did I? They're still my family. Tom shook his head, his eyes gentle but resolute. Family appears, Anastasia, they did not. The day of Luke's funeral, Portland radiated sharp sunlight, an unforgiving contrast to my sorrow. Riverside Chapel's stained glass windows danced across the pews in muted colors, a tiny sanctuary that overflowed with neighbors, friends, and Luke's former tech co-workers. Grace and Tom sat in the front pew, Liam between them, his small fingers gripping theirs. I stood at the podium, my notes quivering in my fingers, and talked about Luke. His signature goofy laugh that rang out in our home. His all-night coding binges, fueled by coffee and zeal. The way he cheered at Liam's soccer games as if it were the World Cup. He loved hard, I had said, my voice cracking. And he left that love with Liam, with all of us. Liam's soft weeping pierced the stillness, and I yearned to go to him, but I needed to finish. I scanned the crowd, hoping against hope to see my parents or Camila, praying they'd change their minds. Their seats were empty, a gaping wound in the packed chapel. After the service, Luke's co-worker Mark approached, his face heavy with sympathy. Anastasia, I'm so sorry. I thought I'd see your folks here. I forced a tight smile, the words bitter on my tongue. They had other plans. Grace, seeing my distress, intervened, escorting Mark to the reception table. Let's get some coffee into you, Mark. The reception was at our Hawthorne Craftsman home, the air thick with the smell of sandwiches and lemonade. Trays of food had been arranged by Grace, and Tom was dispensing drinks to the kids playing in the backyard. They told stories of Luke, how he worked late to fix someone else's code, how he constructed a treehouse for Liam out of his own hands. Every memory was a bittersweet dagger, cutting with love and loss. I refilled a tray, and my phone vibrated, a message from Camila. Hope the funeral went well. Mom posted photos of my party. I looked at the screen, my hands trembling in shock. The text included a picture. My parents and Camila at a hip Portland restaurant, raising glasses, smiling like it was just any Saturday. I lost breath, the betrayal seeping in deeper than their absence. They didn't just miss Luke's funeral. They celebrated while I put away my husband. I displayed the text to Grace, hardly able to speak. They're not even sorry. Grace's eyes sparked with fury, but she wrapped me in a tight hug. You don't need them, Anastasia. You have us, and you have Liam. That evening, by myself in my bedroom, the rain of Portland came back, pounding against the windows. I huddled on the floor, holding one of Luke's old hoodies, its sweet cedar smell remaining. The agony of my family's betrayal combined with my sorrow, a tempest I couldn't escape. But Luke's final words resonated. You're stronger than you know. I wasn't only fighting for me, I was fighting for Liam, for the life Luke had envisioned for us. I dried my tears, determination solidifying in my chest. My family believed they could push me aside, take Luke's inheritance for themselves. They were mistaken. The will reading had revealed their greediness, but the funeral's omission was their ultimate betrayal. I wouldn't let them leave with anything. Luke's money, my dignity. I began scheming, my brain going into high gear on how to make them confront reality. The following day, I phoned Daisy, my friend who had babysat Liam during funeral preparations. I need your assistance, I said, my voice firm for the first time in weeks. I'm going to make them listen to me no more. Daisy didn't blink. Whatever you require, Anastasia. I'm there. I began drafting a letter, one I'd share publicly at the right moment, laying bare my family's actions. Portland's tight-knit community would hear it. Neighbors, friends, even Camila's precious followers. I'd post it on social media, tagging Camila's influencer page, where her curated life glowed for all to see. I'd list every time they chose her over me, over Liam, over Luke's memory. The art exhibit at 8, the ceremony for the honor society, the funeral they avoided for a lunch. I'd add screenshots of Camila's text, my mom's party photos, their cold dismissal. This was not solely about the will. It was about years of invisibility, and I was finished. I typed for hours, my hands steady, stoked by grief and drive. The letter would be my protest, my means of repossessing my voice in a family that had muted me for far too long. I reloaded a tray at the funeral reception when my phone vibrated with a text message from Camila. Senior marketing assistant. Baby. Party popper emoji. No sympathy, no reference to Luke, just a brag about her party. I glared at the screen, my breast constricted with anger and pain. She'd opted for streamers and selfies instead of goodbye calls to the man who'd more or less raised her. I didn't have anything to say. Words deserted me in the presence of such coldness. That evening, after the partygoers departed, our craftsman home in Portland Hawthorne neighborhood was too still. Liam was sleeping, holding on to the soccer ball Luke had sent him on his last birthday. I sat on the couch, amid drooping flowers and uneaten casseroles, the pressure of it all suffocating me. Luke's absence, my family's disloyalty, the infinite road ahead. Grace lingered late, scrubbing dishes in silence, her presence a tiny anchor in my tempest. "You're doing him right, Anastasia," she murmured before departing. "Luke would be proud." I nodded, yet inwardly I felt that I was failing. Failing Liam, failing myself. My parents hadn't phoned, hadn't visited Liam, hadn't even attended the funeral. We didn't count unless they needed something. After Grace and Tom departed, I couldn't sleep, silence ringing in my ears, Luke's absence a hollow I couldn't fill. Then my phone flashed, a notification. My mom had posted on Facebook and tagged me. Crushed that my daughter Anastasia has become greedy since the death of her husband. She's sitting on 2 rental houses and a fortune while her sister Camila is suffering. Money does funny things to people. The post received dozens of comments from family members and strangers alike, all presuming I was the bad guy. Poor Camila. Never in Anastasia's league. Anastasia set now. Too bad she won't assist family. I glared at the screen, my blood seething. My mom had manipulated the truth to shame me into relinquishing Luke's heritage. I'd spent my entire life keeping quiet, holding their neglect down, but not this time. I opened my laptop and began to type, my fingers burning with years of repressed agony. Since my mom made this public, here's the truth. Last week, I buried my husband, Luke, after fighting pancreatic cancer for 3 years. My parents and my sister didn't come to his funeral. They attended Camila's party celebrating her new marketing position. Luke assisted them for years, servicing their car loan, financing Camila's marketing course. But when he was on his deathbed, they couldn't even spare an hour to babysit my son, Liam. They arrived uninvited at Luke's reading of the will, insisting that I give Camila a rental property intended for Liam's future. I refused. That isn't greed, it's keeping my son safe. I posted the screenshots. My mom's message deeming Camila's party more significant, Camila's brush off of the funeral, their denials to assist. My finger rested on the posting button, pounding with anxiety and determination. Then I pressed, releasing the truth onto Portland's close-knit society. Comments poured in, raw and encouraging, in minutes. Anastasia, this is terrible. How could they miss the funeral? These texts are cruel. You're doing the right thing for Liam. My mom attempted to comment, saying I was lying, but the screenshots told their own story. By the morning, she'd deleted her post, but the harm was done. Relatives phoned, stunned, saying they were here for me, some apologizing for believing her lies. I felt free, as if I had shed a lifetime of their manipulation. My parents and Camila didn't let up, emailing, begging for forgiveness, but every one of them added in the properties or money. They came to my doorstep uninvited, my mom with crocodile tears, Camila with a scripted apology. Anastasia, we're family. Let's let this go, my dad said, as if their failure to attend Luke's funeral was some slight. Every time, I was firm, my voice unwavering. My duty is Liam, his future, his aspirations, what Luke left for him. I blocked their numbers, dismissed their messages via mutual friends. It stung to cut them off, like amputating a limb, but I was finished pursuing their acceptance. Months passed, and life settled into a new rhythm in our Hawthorne house. I began overseeing the Pearl District properties, delving into leases and tenant problems. Much to my surprise, I adored it. Fashioning systems, solving puzzles, watching Luke's wisdom pay dividends. The finances were consistent, and I put a portion in technology stocks, paying respect to Luke's vision for a college fund for Liam, perhaps even a rocket camp. Grace and Tom were present at every turn, Friday nights spent around the dinner table with blackberry pie, cheering on Liam at soccer games. Liam's smile widened, his loss easing in their love, his laughter ringing in our backyard. One evening, while tucking him in, he asked, "Mom, do you miss Grandma Diane and Grandpa Robert?" I hesitated, seeking honesty, my hand stroking his hair. "I miss the family I wish they were, buddy. But we have Grace and Tom, and they love us more than words." He nodded, holding his soccer ball close. I'm glad we have them. I kissed his forehead, my heart full even with scars. I heard rumors through my cousins about my parents and Camila. Camila lost her marketing job, too busy with influencer aspirations, her social media messages growing more desperate for attention. My parents grumbled about retirement expenses, implying I could assist, but I did not. My responsibility was to Liam, to the life that Luke had in mind for him. Others had called me cruel, but as I saw Liam smile in the backyard, playing with Tom, constructing rockets, I knew I'd made the right decision. I had ended a cycle of abandonment that had characterized my childhood. Liam would be grown knowing true love, unconditional, in actions, and not in words. The take-home message here is that fighting for your truth, even at the risk of losing family, can set you free to create a life based on love and fidelity. Defending what you love most, your heart, your child, your legacy, brings courage, but it's every fight worth it. Thank you for watching Revenza Tales, where authentic stories of resilience and victory come to life. Smash the like button, share your comeback stories in the comment section, and subscribe for more epic stories. Share this with friends in need of a dose of justice, and I'll see you in the next one.